Hi, everyone, and welcome to this really important discussion brought to you by the team at My Tax Accountant. We're going to be tackling a question that, let's be honest, probably keeps a lot of people up at night. Can HMRC really look at your bank account without your permission? We're going to dive deep into what they can and can't do, what gets them interested in the first place, and, most importantly, what you can do to make sure you're doing everything right.
So, let's just get straight to the point, shall we? Is there someone at HMRC secretly watching every penny you spend? Looking over your shoulder at every coffee, every online purchase? It's a pretty scary thought, and it's one that makes a lot of us feel, well, a little bit nervous.
And the simple answer is yes. Yes, they can. But, and this is a really big but, it's not a free-for-all. They don't have some kind of secret back door into your bank account. There are very specific legal rules and powerful tools they have to use, and knowing what those are is your absolute best line of defense. So, here's what we're going to cover. First, we'll go over the basics. Then, we'll unpack the actual legal powers HMRC has. After that, we'll look at the incredible digital detective work they're doing these days. We'll also break down what actually triggers an investigation. And we'll finish up with a super useful checklist and tell you where to turn if you need expert help.
Okay, so first up, HMRC and your bank account. Before we get into all the serious legal stuff, let's just make sure we're all on the same page about the ground rules.
Right, let's bust a huge myth straight away. HMRC is not plugged directly into the banking system. They can't just log on whenever they feel like it and scroll through your statements. They need a proper, legitimate, legal reason to even ask to see your information. And usually, that reason is because something in your tax affairs has raised a bit of a red flag. So, what are these legal powers we're talking about? This is where it gets really important to pay attention. Let's open up HMRC's toolkit and have a look at the exact powers they can use to get information not just from you, but directly from your bank.
All right, let's start with the big one, the Financial Institution Notice, or a FIN for short. Now, this thing is a real game changer. It basically gives HMRC the power to bypass you completely, go straight to your bank, and demand information. And the key thing here? They don't need your permission, and they don't need a judge's approval from a tax tribunal either. It's designed to be fast and to cut through the red tape. This table really breaks it down. You've got the older Schedule 36 notice, which is still used, but that one usually needs an independent tax tribunal to sign off on it first. The FIN, as we just said, completely skips that step. That's a huge shift in power. And then you have the most serious tool of all, the direct recovery of debts, where they can literally take money from your account, but that's a last resort for debts over $1,000, and they have to leave you with at least £5,000.
Okay, moving on. It's not just about legal notices anymore. Oh no, in the 21st century, HMRC has become a seriously sophisticated digital detective, using some incredible technology to connect the dots in ways that most of us just don't even realize. So their main weapon is a massive computer system called Connect. You can think of it like a giant digital spider's web. It pulls in data from all over the place. We're talking land registry, credit card companies, even government databases. Thanks to international agreements, they get data from over 100 countries. And here's the newest, biggest change. Since the start of 2024, platforms like Airbnb, eBay, and Etsy have to report seller income directly to HMRC. Basically, almost nothing is off the radar anymore. And if you think that bank account you have overseas is your little secret, well, you might want to think again. Just to give you a sense of the scale here, last year, HMRC received 1.2 million reports about overseas accounts held by UK taxpayers. That is a staggering amount of data, and it just shows you how global their reach really is now.
Let's make this real for a second. Take Idris, a landlord from Bristol. He made an extra £15,000 renting his place out on Airbnb. And he didn't declare it. But the new rules meant Airbnb reported his earnings, HMRC's system flagged it, they took a look at his bank account, and boom, the undeclared income was spotted instantly, and he got hit with a penalty of £4,500. It just shows you how easily the system can join the dots.
Okay, so this brings us to the million-dollar question. Right? What actually makes HMRC take a closer look in the first place? I mean, they can't investigate everyone. So their systems are programmed to hunt for specific red flags. Stay with me. This next part is absolutely crucial for understanding how to stay out of trouble. So what is it that puts you on their radar?
What kind of behavior makes their computer system go ping and send your file over to a real person for a closer look? Well, here are the big ones. The absolute classic is a lifestyle that just doesn't add up to your declared income. You know, you're driving a brand new Porsche, but telling the tax man you only earned 20 grand. But their system also flags things like big cash deposits, regular money transfers abroad, or a business that has suspiciously high expenses for very little profit. And of course, unreported income from things like crypto or a side hustle is a huge one. They even get anonymous tip-offs from the public. And if they do find something, the penalties can be absolutely brutal. As you can see, a genuine, innocent mistake might get a 0% penalty. But if they think you were just careless, that penalty can jump to 30% of the tax owed. If they decide you did it deliberately, it could be 70%. And if you deliberately tried to hide it, we're talking up to 100% of the tax you owe, plus interest on top of that. That's not all. Here's where most people go wrong. They don't realize just how quickly these penalties can stack up. So, what does this process actually look like? Well, it usually kicks off with that dreaded brown envelope landing on your doormat containing a formal enquiry notice. Then they'll start a compliance check, asking for all sorts of documents. If they find something's not right, they'll issue a penalty notice. And from that point, you've usually only got about 30 days to appeal the decision. It all moves pretty fast.
Okay, I know all of that sounds pretty daunting, but here's the good news. It is absolutely possible to stay off HMRC's radar with just a few good habits. So let's switch gears and talk about the solution. Here are 6 simple steps you can take to get some real peace of mind. Number 1, and this is an absolute must if you run a business, get a separate bank account. Keep business and personal spending completely apart. 2, keep good records of everything and hold on to them for at least 6 years. 3, use accounting software. It'll make your life so much easier. 4, report all of your income, even that little bit from your side hustle. 5, if you know you've made a mistake, tell them. Coming forward voluntarily almost always means a lower penalty. And finally, number 6, if you're ever in doubt, get professional advice. Just don't guess. And here's a pro tip that really sums it all up. The best defense is a good offense. If you keep clean records and separate your finances, you're not just getting ready in case they investigate, you're actively making it far less likely that they'll ever want to investigate you in the first place. But look, what if your situation is already a bit complicated? Or worse, what if that brown envelope has already landed on your doormat? Well, sometimes you just need to call in the experts. So let's talk about what your next steps could be. Trying to handle an HMRC inquiry all by yourself can be incredibly stressful and complicated. If you need professional, expert guidance, the team at My Tax Accountant are ready and waiting to help. You can call them directly on 0208-570-8531, or you can send an email to info@mytaxaccountant.co.uk. And for more fantastic, straightforward tax advice just like this, make sure you hit subscribe on the My Tax Accountant YouTube channel. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll leave you with one last question to think about. If that letter from HMRC landed on your doormat tomorrow, are your records ready?